Welcome back to yet another fantastic show at Mission Accepted. We know that you are in that deciding process. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm an entrepreneur. Who did, no one told me. No one told me what this was going to be like, right? You decided to take a mission in whatever way you decided to take a mission, or maybe you're still sitting on the sidelines and you're like, I'm just going to listen to these crazy people tell me about how they've done it and what they're doing so that when I do decide to go time, I'm going to be really ready to go. And if you are here supporting and listening and chuckling along the journey with us and really happy with what you're doing, we still appreciate you and support you. Look at today, we are going to talk to some incredible women that are doing something that people are thinking about because it is now accessible. Right now, it's accessible to be able to become an author, not only an author, but a multiple author, an author where you can self-publish, where you can pick your covers and share your passion and share your purpose. Some people are writing their books because they want to add value to when they present, when they coach. And some people are writing books because they've always had one inside. And it doesn't really matter if it's part of their business or their mission. They just really have something to say. And now we've got these powerful vehicles. And it has really exploded, this world of becoming an author. We're so excited to be talking to some of the most incredible authors today. You chose a really great show to be a part of. So I'm going to ask, we're going to just kind of go around. If you haven't noticed, there's more than one of us. If you're not watching, but you're listening, you're going to go, oh, there's multiple different voices. This is a powerful group show where authors are going to talk about their process of authoring, becoming an author. And we hope to inspire you to, one, get their books, two, read their books and then pass them on, because that's the best thing about books. And three, if you have an itch to write your own book, we want you to be inspired to do so and let us know about that. So I'm going to kind of go around the room and ask these incredible women and authors to introduce themselves and tell us where you're from and share the title of your book. So Yvette, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I am Yvette Durazo, and I am located in California, in the north side, very close to San Francisco. I'm native from San Diego, California, which is in the south of California. I am presenting my second book that I fully authored and published myself. And this is a very dear book to me because it's about women negotiation. It's called In the High Heels of a Smart Negotiator. You can see right in the back, here's my book, the one that I just talked about. And then this is the first one that I wrote by myself in conflict intelligence. But right now, my focus is in creating more value to help women leaders to be able to make it out there in the world.
Wow. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And Dali, please tell us about you and where you're from and the title of your book.
Well, hello, everyone. So my name is Dali. I was born in Nicaragua, raised in California, living in Maryland. And the title of my book is Confident Bully-Proof Kids. And I wrote that book from a personal experience, realizing that a lot of parents really don't know how to have that conversation with their children and also how to properly advocate for their children through schools or other organizations.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Brandy.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. I'm Brandy Cox. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm from all over. My book is titled Wired to Win, and it's a masterclass in winning strategies from top experts. And so I can't wait to talk about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Miss Trish Springsteen.
Hi, everyone. My name's Trish Springsteen. I am from Queensland, Australia. I'm an author, co-author, and contributing author to 22 books. But the one that I really want to highlight today is Forever Changed by Suicide. It's a compilation book that I organized and invited other people in, and it's one that's very dear to my heart. Considering we've just come out of September, we're going into October, and it's mental health issues. So more about that later.
More about that later. Thank you so much. And you are from?
Queensland, Australia, I said.
Oh, did you? Okay, good. Look at me. All right.
But that's
and Liz, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. My book, I am living in New York City. I am a psychotherapist and coach, and my book is Divorce Well and Thrive, Your Guide to Being Your Best Self Under the Worst Circumstances. So as you can see, I'm really focused on helping people do this well for themselves, for their children, for the vision of their future lives. And I can't wait to talk more about it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Cynthia?
Hi, I'm Cynthia Gregory. I'm dialing in from the beautiful Sonoma Valley in the San Francisco Bay Area. The title of my book is Love Notes from the Soul 2.0. It is the second in a series of soul deep anthologies sharing stories of love, magic, and miracles, and it is my fifth book.
Very, very good. And Susan?
Hi, Susan Postnikoff, currently in Hawaii. Lived, 25 years in California. Before that was Canadian, and I guess I'm still Canadian officially. I have dual citizenship. My book is Empowered Communication, C-Suite and Sales Edition, and I also have the Empowered Communication 5 key steps to empowered communication, and to be really, it's the course, it's the book in a course, and it's the online course that teaches everyone how to become a Zen level communicator and takes them through all of the exercises that are in the book, takes them through all of the exercises to become who they need to be inside, to work internally to produce that Zen level communicator.
Wow. So you can see, thank you so much, Susan. You can see the variety of the topics here, the variety of the passions. You can also see that sometimes, like they say, once you do a tattoo, you're addicted to tattoos. You can see that some people don't know how to say no to authoring. I'm not going to pick on you, Trish, but it is true. Once you do one book, if there's more to tell or another, it's not unusual to see authors continue to author. So Yvette, I'm going to go back up to you and just ask you, what was the moment that you knew you needed to write this book? What was that moment about?
The moment was after me doing a master's degree in the field of negotiation, conflict resolution, and peace building, and realizing that even though that I had an entire master's degree, I was struggling to negotiate. And also when I realized that because I haven't negotiated, I have left so much money on the table, and that is money that it is not in my 401k for my retirement. That was the time where I said, I really need to do this for myself and to help my fellow leader women in the young women to come that are struggling as well.
Wow, very, very, very cool. Thank you. And Dali, what was your moment?
What led me to write my book was something that happened when my child was 5. She's 19 now, but she was asked by a little boy to be her girlfriend. She said no, and then the bullying started from there. And at first I thought I had to teach kids about genders, and social stuff. But when I advocated for her, I was found with a lot of resistance and confusion, and leadership didn't really know what to do. And that just dove me into research. And I was at the moment in my master's program already in that mode. So I shared the information for years until one day I decided to just make it a business. And surprisingly, people said yes. And here I am 6 years later, 7 years later.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much. And Brandy, your moment.
So I think I have several books in me, so I probably am gonna do that, that thing. But I have been working so much with entrepreneurs, and they all needed the same lesson. They all needed to hear the same thing. And it was all about, you're supposed to be the visionary and running your business. You're not supposed to be the VA and working for your business. And so I had to say that so many times that I was like, I need to write this down for posterity. So.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Thank you so much. And Trish, for you, the moment you knew you needed to put this anthology together.
Okay. My very first book was a business information book called Creating Confident Communicators. And then I sat on that for a while. In 2007, we lost our son Craig to suicide, which was a very pivotal moment in my life. And it took a while and we're still working through that. It's been quite a few years, but we're still going through that. And so about four years ago, I decided that I wanted to showcase those people who have been changed by suicide. It's when we lost Craig, it was a word that you didn't really mention very much. People didn't know what to do, how to respond. And given my years of writing and that, I got to the point where I felt confident enough to say to people, listen, let us share. And this book is people who have been through that path and come out the other side, those who have lost people and who've been forever changed by that loss, and people who help people have contributed to that book. So one of the chapters in that book is my thoughts and feelings about losing our son. And it is a book that is extremely close to my heart. I mean, every single book I write, 22 of them, I'll contribute to, is all close to my heart because I won't contribute or write unless it's something that I really want to share. But this one is close because it's a very personal story. And that is why I put this compilation together. And I think it's a very powerful book for people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And Liz, for you, your moment.
So my moment was when my former husband and I decided to have a separation party to share with the world the different way we wanted to transform our relationship. And people thought it was a joke. And we were kidding. And the trauma that I started to hear on my telephone from so many people who had horrible divorces or their parents had horrible divorces, et cetera, et cetera. It just made it very clear to me, even after decades of being a clinician and hearing all kinds of problems, the real seriousness of what happens in people's lives when there is a traumatic or dramatic or angry divorce, and knowing that it didn't have to be that way and doesn't have to be that way, that it is actually possible to have a trauma-free divorce, even a good divorce, really led me to write this book for primarily the children of people who are divorcing, but also the people who are obviously the adults who are going through it.
Right. Wow. Thank you so much. And Cynthia, your moment.
Such a great question. It was in March of 2023. A friend of mine was turning 80 and asked me if I wanted to join her on a silent retreat at a Benedictine monastery in Big Sur. Of course, I said yes. And so there I was one early morning sitting in the ocean mist, high above the sparkling blue Pacific. And I was reading a book of Mary Oliver poetry, listening to the monks chanting in the chapel. And literally, I was weeping at the beauty of the moment. And I got a divine download. I clearly heard a voice say, Love Notes Anthology, like an assignment. I was dubious, but when I returned home and I was talking to clients and friends about creating a book of stories of transformation about so many different people, it caught on. And before I knew it, I had 30 authors from 7 countries around the world, and we had a #1 bestseller. It was such a beautiful experience. I decided to do it again. This time we did it in 10 months. Love Notes 2.0 launched November 1st. And it's just extraordinary being able to showcase these people focusing on a more just, equitable, and compassionate world. I'm really thrilled.
Wow. Thank you so much. And Susan, your moment.
So I had been mentored by this wonderful woman, Marsha Martin, for, 20 plus years. And she had this amazing material, all of her teachings. And, she's not getting younger. She's a little older than I am. And I just thought, this work, it has to be in a book. It has to be accessible to everyone. And I talked to her about, writing it for her. And it was kind of funny, and on the one hand, she kind of felt like I was stealing her material. I'm like, no, I'm writing this for you. Like, do you want to be co-author? Do you want to be #1? Like, what do you want? Your work needs to be in a book. And so I started writing it with her cooperating, and she was going to co-author, and she was actually going to have her name first. But then as the book evolved, she's like, well, a lot of these, notes and materials, aren't 100% mine. There was a group of us who created all this. So I had to rewrite and rewrite to kind of change the wording and change things around a little. And at the end of it all, she said, this is really yours now. It's your book, it's your stories. You've really kind of, made this your own. So she wrote the foreword for me, and I completed the book. But, it's basically, it's like landmark the forum in a book in a format that anyone can access without having to pay thousands of dollars. Now, let me tell you, I really believe there's nothing that compares to live training. And my ultimate goal is to do more live training. But for the moment, sometimes the book is all people can afford and all that they have the ability to access.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's so important to have this material in a book.
Thank you so much. I'm hoping that the audience, and I know that they're listening to all of you having your moment. And what a variety. Like, seriously, what a variety. Some from business needs, some from personal needs, some from, I can't believe that people don't know this information, some from like trauma, some from wanting to write it from someone else, something from, getting a download. So what I'm wanting the audience to understand is that however you've received your moment, or maybe you're going to receive it, is that it may come in many different forms. I'd love to, put us in, all of us from authors, put ourselves in that moment of talking to someone out there that is actually about to write a book or going to write a book. And if you could say we just want to keep it tight and concise, but when I say a top performance offering or a tip, is one thing that you did that really either optimized or made this real or made this easier for you, something that you did that you would want to share. And Yvette, let's start with you. Oh, sweetie, we can't hear you, hon.
Well, about the word that I would like to share for women is that it is important to realize that even though that sometimes you might pick up a book of negotiation and you might learn a skill, what will stop you is your way of thinking and perhaps that unconscious ideas that you had when you grew up, the culture that you lived in, and also the society that you live in. And once you realize that that is what is stopping you, and then you make consensus with it, because you might not be able to change the society. You might be able to overwrite a little bit of your culture, but once you do that, then you can feel more free to start negotiating for yourself. We are very good in negotiating for everybody else as women, but we tend to forget about ourselves. And no matter if it's in your private life or in your career life, there's always ways to negotiate so that you can have a more manageable life, that it is healthy, because whenever you become assertive in a way that you have your needs met as much as possible, you will become a very healthy person from all aspects.
So this is so powerful. And Dali, for yourself? Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. So a tip that you want to share with the audience. It can be about either something in your book like Yvette shared, or it could be, if you're writing a book, this is my tip for you.
So for parents who feel intimidated by administrators, I just want them to always remember that, number one, they're humans just like you. They're parents, they're employees, they are community members. And ultimately, they really do want to hear from parents. And oftentimes when parents do, say, complain about resources that are not being provided by the school, it's usually because they have no idea that that is a need. And that's why it's so important for you to use the power of your voice to request and to submit suggestions. And if you ever have any complaints, please, I always tell parents, submit your complaint, but offer at least 3 suggestions on how to solve the problem, because nobody likes to hear just somebody complain and not offer any solutions.
That's awesome. Brandy?
One of mine's, I guess mine's a little more practical. And it was, sometimes it's hard to just sit and write. So a lot of times what I was doing was I was like talking to voice notes and then having that transcribed. So because it's a lot easier for me to just talk to, like I'm talking to a person, and I could actually take transcripts of conversations that I had with people and go, oh, that's where I had that amazing idea and that amazing revelation while I was talking to somebody, and then be able to piece those together and put them into something cohesive.
No, thank you very much. I'm a voice night girl. I'm with you, sister. All right. And Trish, for yourself?
You're speaking with someone who was very absolutely convinced they didn't have any stories to share. They weren't an author. They'd spent years becoming a speaker and a speaker mentor. But hey, I'm not an author. My first book was because someone told me he needed credibility. So I shared my business information in creating confident communicators, and then shelved it all completely because that wasn't me. Until fast forward, I got asked to contribute a chapter to a book, and I wasn't going to. It was a book in America. I thought no one will read it, so I thought I had to walk my talk. So I stepped out of my comfort zone and did it, and realized people did want to hear what I had to say. And I did have stories. When it comes to writing, I have a lot of people, because I mentor book writers as well, authors. And one of the things I say is just start. We procrastinate. We think of many reasons why we can't. My mindset, I'm not going to write an author because I can't. No one wants to read it. No one wants to share it. And who am I to be an author? You work on your mindset and you just write. And then I said, well, how can I do that? And I say, do you know, if you do 500 words a day for 30 days, that's a 15,000 word book, which in today's world is a really reasonable size book because people want shorter size book. And you've got your book. Just 500 words a day in 30 days, and you can have your book. And if you don't want to start with your own, say yes. Say yes to doing a chapter in a book, because that makes you an author. And it's a way of sneaking in without having to angst over the publishing, over everything else. And it gets you started, and to realize that people do want to hear your stories. If nothing else you take away from here, start writing. And remember, each and every one of us has stories. We all have life experiences. We all have expertise. And there is someone out there that needs to hear, if only a word, a phrase, or a chapter. They need to hear that because it could change their lives. So don't be selfish. Share your story.
That's a good way to put it. Don't be selfish. And it's true. We've all been impressed upon. Even a meme sometimes has changed our day, right? Mm-hmm. So, Liz, for yourself.
So Trish took the words right out of my mouth. The idea that it is a disservice not to share your wisdom, that there's somebody out there who needs to hear what you have to say. You're put on this planet to give information of some kind to someone. And I think from the kind of process of writing perspective, I, at a certain point, hired an editor to really go through the book and actually gave me some wonderful suggestions. And I think having another pair of eyes at times is really important, and paying attention to the feedback you're getting about how important your message is really helps move everything forward.
Very good. Don't do it alone. And Cynthia, for yourself, a tip for the audience.
Oh, yes. You need a partner, you need a schedule, and you must treat it like a priority. As a writing coach, I say, when you're ready to write your book, assemble your team and don't look back. It's really helpful to have an accountability partner when you write a book. You can write an outline, you can write chapter summaries, you can get as granular as you want in your ideas, but in the end, you have to put your seat in the seat and your feet on the floor and do the business of writing the book, which isn't always easy, even if you really, really want to write your book. Sometimes it's nice to have a cheerleader in the tough times when you're feeling stuck who can help keep you on track. And an accountability partner will keep you motivated to keep producing those potent pages. Your accountability partner isn't necessarily your life partner or your best friend. You need someone who will encourage and drive you to complete the task at hand, and most importantly, possibly the most important, to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. And so I'd say you need a partner, you need a schedule, and you need to treat it like a priority.
Very good, very good. And you know what? It's nice to hang out with and listen to women and men that have written books just like people are doing right now. because, we're talking from the inside, right? It's like when you get an insider's point of view, and there's nothing more than talking to someone that you know or knows where you're at to be able to move you. There's just a certain level, because they know. You can't say, well, you don't know what it's like, because they're like, yes, I do. All right, Susan, and for you, either a tip from your words or a tip for other authors?
So for me, when I was first starting to write the book, I had so much material and I could go in so many directions. I could have written 10 books from it. And I'd start and stop and start and stop. And then I got this wonderful advice from a guy named Robert J. Moore, who's also an author. And he said, put down 10 thoughts or 10 headings. And then under each of those, put down another 5 to 10 points. He said, those are your 10 chapters, and then you have your content.
All right.
That just got it flowing.
There you go. All right. Well, look this is a fun process as well. When you do this, you get to find out about yourself even more so. You get to meet other authors. You need to hang out in circles like this. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions. So I'm going to go around the room and ask 2 questions. What was the coolest thing that's happened for you since you've written your book? Could be a personal aha moment, could have been someone that you met, could be someone who signed your book or you signed a book for. And at the same time, what was the biggest risk? What felt like the biggest risk for you? So Yvette, I'm going to go right back to you and ask you the coolest thing and the riskiest thing.
I think that the coolest thing was having my daughter at the lunch party and having her talk in my lunch party, because I have a little story about her in the book as to how is it that she wanted to become an engineer. And I had to ask her to save for a couple of years her dreams, because I didn't want the family members to dissipate her or shy her away from what she wanted to do. So that was very insightful, and I'm already making the difference with my new generation, right, with my daughter. And then she's pregnant, so it's going to go with the granddaughter as well. So that's exciting for me, just to be able to hit on my 3 generations and then that of the women that I have worked with. And then what was the other question?
Like, what felt like the biggest risk for you writing this book, putting this book to market, something that you had to ask of someone, like a big risk?
I think that the biggest risk was, deviating the energy into marketing this book, because at the first glance, I am a consultant, right? But then I get so caught up in the author's hat that I am fascinated by it, by the fact that I was able to develop and create this book. But sometimes it's risk, right? When you're doing your consulting work and then all of a sudden you have to do all these things for the book itself in order to eventually come back and help you with your consulting business.
Yeah, it does. It can take you away, or feel like it takes you away for sure. Thank you. Oh my gosh, and congratulations, honey. Dali, what about for yourself? One of the coolest things and one of the riskiest things?
I think one of the coolest things was becoming a keynote speaker. I always wanted to do that, and I always questioned, was I good enough? And the biggest risk was just putting the book out there, because I've also been very hard on myself with writing. In my master's program, I struggled, but then you realize that academic writing is so different than writing a book. And it was just really, really nice to see how well it was received, both the speeches that I've done and just people who have read the book.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing. And Brandy?
I would say one of the coolest things was I had Suzanne Evans and Marion Jones sign my book, which is really cool. And then let's see here. And then I guess the riskiest thing was I'm a disabled combat vet, so I'm actually in my house a lot. I'm always sick. And the book launch had to be in Orlando, Florida. So I had to go down to Orlando for a week, not be at home, not be, in a place where it's cold, dark, and quiet, and be in a loud, sunny, and hot place. And then had to be like performing, like up and awake for like 4 days straight. And that was really, really hard physically and everything on me. So that was a big risk. It was a lot of medications to get it done. But I made it happen, and we made #1 bestseller. So excited.
Wow, congratulations. It's amazing. I mean, this is inspiring. Just writing the book, right? Just writing the book and what the stretch, that I call it the stretch of significance. And for yourself, Trish?
The coolest one. Well, a couple of years ago, someone asked me to contribute to a very, very small book, which is actually a huge book. Someone called Deb Drummond
Oh,
dragged me into a whole experience. And the coolest thing out of that was for someone from a small place in Queensland, Australia, to go to the Oscars, to a gifting party, and be honored to be someone to speak about as one of the authors in that really cool book to a whole lot of people that would never, ever have ever conceived in my whole life to have done. So I think that's the coolest one. And I share that because it happens from being able to have the courage to say yes. And I think that's the risk I wanted to share, is that people are afraid often for imposter syndrome, mindset, doubt, to say yes to writing, yes to contributing to a book, yes to the opportunities that come from it, to be able to speak about that book, to share it. And that's a risk for a lot of people. It was a risk for me when I did my first book. It was a risk for me to say, yes, I'd go to the Oscars because, hey, for someone like me to be asked, and I was extremely honored to be asked by Deb to go and speak on behalf of those authors, that was a risk. That was a risk that I had to take. So I want anybody to realize that there's so many risks in our lives, in our businesses, for those who've got business, for those who want to write a book but are worried about it. I'm just going to say to you, say yes. Take 60 seconds of insane courage, say yes, because absolutely amazing things come from it. And when a shy person who was extremely introvert many years ago in the Jurassic period left high school, to think that at one stage she would be at the Oscars at a gifting lounge, talking to celebrities, talking to writers, talking to other people across the world, that is something that I think is probably the best thing that's come out of being an author. And there's been so many things, being able to share my stories. But I think that's the one I'm going to say tops at the moment. So thank you, Deb, for the opportunity.
I'm just trying not to cry.
Oh,
I'm just trying not to cry. That was amazing. And it was so amazing. And I actually took a picture of us there yesterday for something. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. And I think listening to your story, one of the words that come to me is when you start to embark on a journey, one that you don't really know what's going to happen, but you hope and want and plan and have an idea of what you want to happen, is it is in the unforeseen that the magic really happens. Like, you really don't know. But bravery, I think we could all put our hand up. Bravery definitely is rewarded in all the most interesting kind of ways. So thank you for reminding me of that. And Liz.
So I don't know what's going on with us, Trish, but
I know, I was just thinking that.
but there are a lot of parallels here. So I'm going to say two things. So one is I think one of the coolest things of being an author and then being invited to be in another book and being invited to be in the 262 book and then going to the Emmys was also being in that gifting lounge, the Harvest Gifting Lounge, and really having an incredible experience being there was very exciting and very cool. And then the other cool thing was having Jack Canfield read my book and tell me that it was a wonderful book and people needed to read it. And so that was very exciting. I think the riskiest thing, I really do agree, Trish, about the saying yes. I think saying yes always embodies some kind of risk, especially when we don't know exactly what we're moving into. But I think in terms of this particular book, my Divorce Well and Thrive book, it was really figuring out how to share about the people in my life that would be in the book and to have them read what I was writing about them, and get that approval, so that everyone felt comfortable in what was going out into the world.
Wow, so powerful. All right, Cynthia, for you, risk and cool.
Okay, I'll start with cool. I won my first award for writing about 20 years ago. I took second place in a major competition and beat out 19,000 other entries, which was pretty cool. The other thing that I think is cool about being a published author is that you're suddenly in demand for speaking opportunities because everyone loves an author. There's really something magical about spinning a story out of thin air or real life that connects us to other people in a sort of universal language. And that is super cool that we're wired for all of that goodness. Now, the risk, no doubt about it, was quitting my day job and going fully entrepreneurial. It was scary because I always had a day job that I hated, and I had a love-hate relationship with. I worked long hours and way too many 7-day weeks. And frankly, as a high achiever, I knew I wasn't doing either as well as I could. So I finally reached a point of overwhelm and burnout that it didn't really feel like a choice, and it was imperative for my emotional and physical well-being to lean into what I really loved, and that is writing, and trust that the universe had my back, and as it turns out, it does.
Nice way to put it. And Susan, for yourself. Oh my goodness, girl. Some cool stuff. Some cool stuff.
So for me, the first thing, the most amazing thing that happened was shortly after my book came out, this wonderful lady who I met through Brian Sebastian, she read my book after Brian put us on a podcast together, and then she invited me to her podcast. And when she invited me to her podcast, she had done all this preparation and her entire podcast, and it was so beautiful with this beautiful, pink purple background and everything that she did. Her podcast is called Colliding Worlds, and she basically did like an hour-long promotion of my book, talking about the things she liked about it and asking me questions. And so that was just wonderful and amazing. And then the riskiest part of my book was when I had that first draft completed to send it to Marcia to review and to see how she was going to respond. Was she going to hate it? Was she going to love it? Was she going to want nothing to do with it? Was she going to be upset with me? And just not knowing what her reaction would be was, for me, was nerve-wracking because she's so important to me and I respect her so much.
Wow. I mean, if there's anything that I can hear, thank you, Susan, for sharing that. It's like, if there's anything that I've heard, a lot of the risk is really just putting it out there. Like, there's a risk of putting it together. There's a risk of how it's going to be received. Yvette talked about the marketing, the time it takes away. There's all sorts of little risks. For some people, bigger than others. Some are fiscal. Some are, what are people going to think? I went to a beautiful writing workshop up at the Omega Institute in New York, with a very famous author, and a big question that she was getting a lot was, do I put my name to this? I'm writing things personal. What are people going to think? This is my story. What is my family going to say? There's a lot of things that come up for people around what is the response going to be. I mean, Trish, and those of us that put anthologies together, the risk of everyone having a good experience, and you take on that piece of, oh, wow, the needle is up, right? Because as good empaths, we're making sure that everyone's, you're corralling the success, and what does that look like? So there's many pieces that go in to writing a book, to owning a book, to sharing in a book, whether it's business or whether it's personal. I don't think that one, to write a personal book. Well, when you write a business book, you better hope you're writing good stuff, because you're going to hear back from people really quickly if it's not functional and serving people. So I think that, first of all, congratulations. And I don't think it's one of the things at the end of the book, it's kind of like when you have the baby, you forget about pregnancy, kind of. But, it is, people will talk about it like birthing a book. So for those of you that have another book in you, awesome. For me, I'm always a big believer in, very rarely will a book be out of date. If your book's out of date, it's time for a revision, but always keeping your book alive. It's amazing. If I was to ask every one of you, and I'm not going to, that could be a next show, is what book made a major change in your life? Like, what book? Mine, Shakti Gaiwan, Living in the Light. I was 17 years old, reading it at the back of the bus. And it was the first thing that I was like, wow, you're my people. You know what I mean? And no one probably even knows what that book is anymore. But it was the book that was was one of the catalysts for me. We've all had book moments. You talked about having someone sign your book. I remember when I actually got Gloria Steinman to sign her book. For me, that was a magical moment, right? These people that we love, we love their working work, their working world, and then we're able to encapsulate some of that joy or some of that information through a book. So congratulations to all of you. And thank you for sharing. And to our audience that is out there listening, please, here's what I love. I love when you're inspired by somebody, whether you go and get the book or don't get the book, reach out. The show notes have everyone's information. Go follow, like, see what they're doing on their socials, and be a part of their world, right? Be a part of the world. Who doesn't want to hang out with courageous people doing good things in the world? I'd love for a final, because there are people that are watching us by video, not just audio. If you can put your book up, I think that that would be really cool if you just want to put your book up. And there you go. Look at that. I love it. All the different types of books that people have and all the different types of covers and size and font. It's such a beautiful, creative process. So thank you for being with me today, ladies. It ended up being a house full of ladies. Who knew? And I would say to anyone that's listening out there, if you have a story to tell, if you have a mission, if you have a project, if you've been hanging out with us at all, if this is your first time seeing Mission Accepted podcast, well, lucky you, right? There's a whole bunch of us here today, but if you'd like to share your message, you can simply go over to debdrummond.com, actually debdrummond.com, and there's a media page, and there's a way that you can find us by just booking in an appointment. And if you want to hit this stage, or the podcast stage, or the summit stage, or the live stage, or you want to come on to the TV show, if you've got something to say, we're happy to have that conversation with you. So I am going to ask all of you to make sure that you connect with each other. We want to see beautiful connections coming out of this. That's super cool when you do something powerful like this. You all have something to benefit and share with each other. And that being said, we're going to simply sign off as we always do. We're going to see you again next week. And until then, I want you to be well and stay groovy. So bye for now.